getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. This is round number 2 this season, coming to you today from Doninigton Park. My name is Ron Maunz, back from the Witness Protection Program, and alongside me here today is Charles Beauchel. Well, Charles, after a rather chaotic opening round of the season just 1 week ago at Snetterton, we head off to another fantastic UK track in the form of Doninigton Park. Now, these tracks are kind of similar, do have a lot of heritage in the world of UK motorsports, a lot of grass runoff area. This track has hosted Formula 1 as well. It is a really fun circuit, so I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of chicanery may be afoot here today.
Yeah, Ron, it's going to be a good race. Donington is not necessarily high on my list of UK tracks, or so definitely some that I prefer over this. But there is no dispute that this is a classic British track. Lots of racing heritage here, and always when the Ray Esports Weekend Warriors comes here, it's always a great race. It doesn't matter what car we're in. It's just really, really good racing. So I'm looking forward to the same thing today.
Yeah, really looking forward to what kind of action we have in store. This track, I always have a bit of a soft spot in my heart for it personally. I know this track can be a little bit like Marmite in the sense that some people love it and others absolutely despise it. I'm more in the love category myself, but you know, it takes all kinds to make the world go round, I think is the best way that I can sum it up. Following Brian Hansen at the current moment as he heads his way off through the... that's Wayne Buttermore, my apologies. You can tell it's been a little bit. He's actually right in front of Brian Hansen on my on my live timings. Mixed up the names a little bit. Don't want to mix this one up, though. The sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, Andy Middleton, making this broadcast possible. He's out there on the racetrack currently. Pretty much everybody is looking to set a qualifying time, and we have got a stacked grid, a stacked field of racers. I think I saw 27 drivers setting times in practice, so we have got a good race in store.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be a good race, and we've got our regular racers out there. A couple of new names that I'm not used to seeing out there, but that just adds to the mix. We get a little bit of unknowns for this race, and we'll get to see some new drivers out there competing with our Formula V regular. So yeah, looking forward to it. Once again, not my favorite, but that's okay. We're going to enjoy this anyway because it's always good racing here, and we are on the Grand Prix circuit, which means we get the chicane and the 2 hairpins of death. Which includes Ron's favorite corner in iRacing. So, yeah, looking forward to this. And let's see what their lap times are as we get out here and get qualified.
You know, I'll be honest, Charles, I've been thinking so much about getting everything together for this show and changing some of the drivers' classes about a second before we went live that I didn't even remember that my favorite turn in the whole wide world is here on this racetrack. So much fun on this Grand Prix version of the circuit. It's like driving around Kansas. There is no sight of vision, no nothing. It's basically just a pancake that you're trying to circumnavigate. About to get our first times on the board here, though. So need to break away a little bit, very briefly, from the jokery. It's Charles and I on the show. Of course, we're gonna have a lot of fun throughout this broadcast. For now, however, we're gonna be waiting for the first lap times. I think one of the first that we may be getting is from Robin Howlett, who's about to come across the line. Brian Sosinski, actually the first driver to set a time on the board. What's the time from Brian? That is a 1:52.6. Now Brian Sosinski in Spec 1, so he has been racing in Spec 2 for the past couple of seasons, making the leap up here for Season 1 of 2026, and is already saying in some impressive times, a driver with real-life Formula V experience, same with his brother Dan, so we'll have to see what Brian can do with a new number and a new class.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what we normally get a little bit of a little bit of a kind of a lowering of a driver's results when they kind of move up into that higher pressure class, and we'll see what happens with Brian. It's you can run really well in Spec 2 and finish and get some good top 10 finishes, but when you get up to that Spec 1 class, it's a whole different ball game because now you're running and expecting to be up in that top 5, and sometimes it comes pretty quickly, and then other times it doesn't. So we'll see how Brian adjust to the move up to the promotion up to Spec 1. But we will say we've got Darmaid Toomey currently leading. Guido Marzucchi, fresh off of his podium last week, sit there in second. Andrew Love with the Masters class win last week in 4th. And now that's they've all been pushed down by Tortello, 151 tree, which is exactly what you'd expect from Tor. To be sitting up there at the top of the board. And some other names is coming in. Felix Samoa is now sitting 3rd. Andy Milton, today's sponsor. Thank you very much, Andy. Currently in 7th, only 1/10 of a second back. So it's not like he's just far and away, being gapped by the lead group. It's a very, very tight field up there at the top. It looks like just kind of doing a little bit of addition, maybe 6/10 off pole. So, so right in the thick of things.
Yeah, so very close field. You can see margins are basically non-existent. However, I do want to give some love at this exact moment to a driver who just improved on his time, went to a 153.168 in a small little mini-series that I have done whenever I've gotten the opportunity to produce these Formula V shows, which is somewhat few and far between. Mr. Joshua Wilkie is on the other side of Canada at the moment, other side of Maple Syrup Land in Ontario, so hopefully he's enjoying his travels right now. Saw him on the YouTube chat a little bit earlier on. Hopefully he didn't hear that comment. Otherwise, this may be my last broadcast here on SMB. But in a brand new episode of Producing is Difficult, well, I'll give some love to Stephen Westcott, who, first off, Trading Paints finally decided to refresh his paint. And also, he is not classed at the current moment. He is a Spec 2 racer. I will get that updated here in a couple of moments' time. Just want to give some love to this because I feel like embarrassing myself is what I used to do to get jokes and laughs out of people back in elementary school and middle school and high school, and now as a broadcaster. So we'll follow him for a couple of moments in a very nice McLaren car. Papaya rules going to apply to him as he's currently qualified in P17 at the moment. Now coming up to the halfway mark of this qualifying session.
You know, it's a true test of a person's character if they can become the butt of their own joke. So, Ron, that's that's saying something about you. Self-deprecation is one of the higher forms of humor. So, if you're willing to make fun of yourself, gives you a little bit of a leg up because it makes it more difficult for other people to do it to you. So, well done with that. And just going on to Josh, I thought it was funny. Josh, I'm going to start calling him Pavlov because now he'll just send me a direct message. Hey, Charles, how you doing, buddy? And then my mouth starts salivating, and I immediately go look at the commentator availability channel in Discord to see if there's anything open. So, which is exactly what happened yesterday, which is how I picked this race up.
Yeah, Josh was originally planning on doing the show with me, but I believe he out visiting some family there in Canada and decided to prioritize that, which is fully understandable. It's that time of year to get to visit some family. Got the chance to see some of my family members down there in New Jersey not too long ago for Christmas, and outside of I guess she's now 5 or 6 year old niece Emily screaming about a Labubu, which they horrify me. If anyone's seen a Labubu, there's actually a Labubu themed car and team in the Sim Racers Group F3 series here on SMB, which we did broadcast it this past week on Christmas Eve, and I had the Santa tracker up. And Charles, you actually had a pretty good quip in all of that, saying that nobody was on the nice list in DC, which I thought was very funny.
Yes, it's absolutely true, and I will stand by that statement. It was a good race the other night. I did watch it, and Daniel Labivi and I think Varun Bali, are the two drivers that are in Team Labubu, if I remember correctly. To give those guys a quick shout out here during the Formula V races. We're still 9 minutes into qualifying. Tortello still sitting up on the pole, 150.9, only driver in the 150s thus far.
Yeah, so Toro, of course, always going to be a tour of force here in this series. That was cheap. I apologize. Oh boy, one of my finest. But yeah, he's always quick in these cars, and considering the amount of UK racetracks that we have during this season, Toro's always going to be a force to be reckoned with there. Of course, the driver, originally from New England, if my memory serves me correctly, races with a Japanese flag because he lived there for a brief period of time, lives in the UK now, races in the UK, also races Formula V's in South Africa. So he is multinational. If we ever got Kyle Lamy, you can just add that to the list of about 50 home races that Tor has throughout any given iRacing season.
Yeah, I guess he claims all the probably all the British tracks, all the Japanese tracks, and as soon as we get a South African track, which I think Kyle Lamy is the only one that I know of. I'm sure there are probably others, but that's the only one that I've heard of, being talked about. And I don't think I've ever driven a lap on that track in any sim or video game ever. So I would not have any knowledge of it. So, but we'll keep that in mind if we ever get it in iRacing, we'll just add that to Tor's. He's going to win the race as soon as we go there the first time. So that'll be another one we can just sit back and watch Tor, and that's who you'll need to watch for figuring out how to get around the track quickly.
And I think I remember this from the summer. I think it was Cape Town down there in South Africa was making a proposal to maybe host a Formula One race in the not too far off future. But we'll see how that goes. If I had $1 for every single proposed street track that I've ever seen that never came to anything, I'd probably be able to make my own failed street circuit and probably embezzle some money, get involved in some fraudsters, and go from there. See, I was recently looking into the history of the IndyCar race at Boston that was meant to happen in 2016, never came to be. They ended up bringing IndyCar to Watkins Glen for a couple of years before they swapped that out for a return to Portland. But yeah, I always find that very interesting, the history of failed street circuits and even failed racetracks as well. This track was originally going to be returning to the F1 calendar back in the, I think it was going to be from 2009 or 2010 on. It was meant to play host of the British Grand Prix. If you go on one of my favorite websites of all time, racingcircuits.info, you can see the proposal they had for this racetrack and what the F1 version of it was going to look like. Really fascinating glimpse into motorsports history that has since gone the way of the dodo bird. They never made it. Instead, we're still left with this version of the track, which I can't necessarily say that I am upset about. The only qualm that I have outside of my favorite turn in the whole wide world, the final corner around this Grand Prix configuration, and also the fact that the old hairpin has never been a hairpin in the entire history of this track, dating back to the 20s, yet they still call it regardless. I think that's my only kind of like what if about this track is I wonder how F1 would have raced on that slightly altered and very intriguing layout, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I don't know. Obviously, there would have to be just judging by F1 now. I don't think there's nearly enough safety features around this track that the F1 guys would want to race here without some significant upgrades. Obviously, there's a lot of gravel traps, but as we've seen with some of the incidents at Silverstone, those gravel traps will slow a car down. But when you're doing 200 miles per hour going into a corner, the gravel will only do so much, right? So we talk about the incident between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, where Verstappen went into that wall probably about 120 to 130 miles an hour. That's going to hurt. It doesn't matter what kind of safety equipment you've got on board. So obviously, I think with this track, there would be some changes that would needed to be made for sure. You mentioned the old Boston Street Course proposal. Didn't I see something about the time? I think F1 was still on NBC Sports, the NBC Sports channel, NBC Sports Network. Prior to going to ESPN, and obviously one of the greatest broadcast teams I think that us Americans have had to work with there. Lee Diffie, Steve Matchett, David Hobbs, but I think David Hobbs was involved in maybe a New York City street circuit as well that just never came to fruition.
Ooh, that is rather interesting. I know because there was one in the most hilarious name of a place in the entire world, Hoboken, New Jersey. There was that street circuit proposal that was I think it was meant to start around 2012, 2013, and they just never made the track. I think it was the Port Imperial Street Circuit. There was also meant to be an IndyCar race in New York many, many moons ago, back in the 90s. It was meant to run around the other World Trade Center at that point in time, and the only reason why they shot it down was down to the fact that it was meant to be a race sponsored by Marlboro, and that was round about the same time where we started clamping down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Started clamping down on cigarette sponsorships. It just fell off the rails from there, which I think is honestly a bit of a shame. That would have been pretty cool to see that event take place. But getting to the end of this qualifying session at the moment, I think we'll be able to take a look at the starting grid here for this race in just a few moments' time. Well, I'll let you know that if you are enjoying the broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, as I get the hiccup right at the worst time, you should probably hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Have a lot of stuff to look forward to as we get off into the brand new year. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the starting grid for today's race. And it's going to be Tortolo starting from the pole position. Alongside him will be the Irishman of Darmade Toomey. It is Guido Marzucchi, our SMB colleague, starting in third. Next to Felix Samoas in fourth. Chris Montgomery will be in fifth. Next to him will be Samuel Parent. Andrew Love, off the back of a Masters win last time out, will start in seventh, alongside Andy Middleton in eighth, the sponsor of today's show. Nate Colacio will start in ninth, with Brian Szynski completing your top 10.
Yeah, Alan DeGassis will start in 11th. Jim Brewster outside on row 6 in 12th. As we roll the screen, Robin Howlett starts in 13th. Jason Chin will start in P14. Rodrigo Tostes starting in P15. Sam Chapman starts in 16th. Russ Telker will start in P17. Michelle Lynn starting in P18. 19th is Scott Russell. 20th is Nick Toa. Michael Lattarulo is starting in 21st. Dan Stasinski starting in 22nd. Stephen Westcott starting in 23rd. Brian Hansen starts in 24th. Jason Grider, JG1 starting in 26th. Gary Kittle starting in 27th. Gary Kittle in 26th. Wayne Buttermore starting in 27th. Angel Soto starting in 28th. And David Hunger rounds out your 29-car starting grid. I do not see him on the grid. It does not look like he's in the session at this point in time. So we'll see if he actually makes it out there for the race.
Yeah, if he does make it out there on the racetrack, and considering the high probability of having some drama on the opening lap of this race, I think he's looking to feast on the cars that may run into some trouble here at the start. That may be the cheapest comment I've already made on this show, and we haven't even gotten to the start of the race. We are on the start of the formation lap, though, so not a lot of time until we get this race fully up, rocking, and rolling. Charles, you were here in the booth in place of me last time out at Snetterton, and I feel like there are some similarities that can be drawn between that racetrack and this one.
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, Snetterton not really known for elevation, but some good, a good mix of corners, low speed, high speed, medium speed. Same thing as here, more elevation. Obviously here, things we'll have to watch out for. Obviously that little quick right to left chicane that leads on to the Grand Prix section, and then those two final hairpins that always seem to catch a driver or two out. We had 29 and a half minutes of really great racing before the wheels literally fell off last week. So let's see if we can get through the full 30 minutes tonight.
Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we don't have any wheels falling off. That seems like a bit of a nightmare and very tricky to clean up. About to get things up and rolling here from the second race of the season. The green flag is that, and the drivers are on their way. We're racing at Doninigton Park, and it's a dream start from Tortello. Gonna lead him off very comfortably downtown to turn number 1. Meanwhile, Darme Toomey trying to withstand a challenge from your reigning champion of Felix Samoas as Guido Marzuki is slotted in 4th. Everybody else heading their way off through the turns side by side throughout most of the field. At the front, it's smooth. A little bit farther behind, it's still side by side. Seeing a potential slowdown penalty here for Samuel Perrin, so that may very much affect the way that he's going to tackle the opening laps, as that's a moment for Andy Middleton. He's dropping down like an anvil push out of a helicopter.
Oh, no.
We have a driver going upside down and tumbling. That right there, unless I'm very much mistaken, is Russ Telker, and it is.
Yeah, it is, and I'm not sure what happened. I know Andy went to the inside there, off into the grass. I don't know if maybe that was an unfortunate rejoin or just couldn't get the car collected and came back on the track. But Telker involved, Middleton involved. I think Sam Chapman has dropped down as well, so he might have got a piece of that. And Tostas and Hunger did not take the start of the races. They're not in the session. Like they both disconnected, either manually or unintentionally, or by the race server itself. So unfortunately, we lost a couple of drivers as before the race even started.
The power of Alta F4s compels an iRacing driver whenever they run into some difficulties. So we're going to have to take a look at several replays, because I think there were several separate bits of drama going on there in the span of just a couple of moments. So pull that up once we get to the end of the first lap. For now, though, we're still keeping our eyes locked on Tortello, who holds on to that top spot. Felix Samoas, who's jumped his way up into second. Darme Toomey currently running at your podium in third, with Guido right in tow. So as these drivers head their way out of the final turn to end off the first lap of the race, this will probably be the point in time where more drama goes on, but we're going to cut to a replay here to show you what the deal was for Andy Middleton. A lot of stuff going on as they headed their way into the old hairpin. Yeah,
headed down the hill into the old hairpin, and we're watching that number 70 car, the HP car, maybe a little tap from behind by maybe Coliseo.
My God.
I don't know, but just you could just see nowhere for JG to go. And I'm sorry, Russ Telker, my mistake. Sorry about that, Russ. It's nowhere for Russ to go. So obviously getting collected there. Very, very unfortunate, as just a little bit, it was like maybe a little bit of contact down into that hairpin corner. And yeah, what are you supposed to do there is basically you hit the brakes, you close your eyes, and hope that you end up on your wheels. And that's what happened, but still towing back to the pits. And that's left a little bit of a gap in our field there. Oh, as we got a spin there. That's Samoas around.
Oh, and Guido gets...
I think Marzuki might have got caught up with that as well as they were heading down through. I was about to say that we had a little bit of a gap between P5, Chris Montgomery, and the rest of the field from that from the incident involving Middleton. But then just I was getting ready to say that. Then Samoas and Marzuki looked like Samoas got loose. Couldn't see any contact, but not to say that it didn't happen, as we see Marzuki obviously maybe some damage there on the car. Yeah, left front's down, so definitely issues there. He's going to have to come in and pit that car and see if he can get it fixed up. Samoa's already taken the tow and headed back to pit lane.
Yeah, I was gonna. Oh, baby. Yeah, that's a problem that you've got. Guido with the front left really broken off. We'll compare the front left and how this side of the car is looking to the front right.
Yeah.
Looking smooth on this side, looking not so smooth on the other. So that is going to be a pit stop that'll take Guido out of contention, and he can't even make the turn. Jason Grutter going to follow off in sympathy. And all that, Tortolo's been able to escape out to a 1.7 second gap, which is pretty much a vast yawning chasm here in these Formula Vs. Darme Toomey has a good shot to maybe close up, but he's running all by himself as well. You can have two ways that a gap can grow. Either one driver breaks away as everybody else starts to follow, or a driver breaks away and the driver that can close him up has no assistance. And fortunately for Toomey, and fortunately for Tolo, Darme Toomey just doesn't have any assistance at the moment. He's running pretty much on Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, it really is. He's in that little bubble by himself there, and he's got Andrew Love and Chris Montgomery giving chase. But, not quite sure they're going to be able to get up there. We'll see how this works out. Obviously, they're kind of hoping that Tolo or Toomey just makes a little bit of a bobble. But it won't take much to pick up a half second on this group in front. So, yeah, just you can see, obviously, as these cars have issues, it leaves gaps. And when you're in a single-make series, makes those gaps incredibly difficult to gain that time back, unless you're just a Marco Panero type, just to throw a name out there where he's like, oh, we got another one there. That's Jim Brewster and the 15 car of Samuel Parent, and they look like they are. Oh no! Not again! Not again! They are connected. Yep, it's the iRacing mating ritual there happening with doing these Formula Vs. So they've got that straightened out and disconnected from each other, and now can continue on. Obviously, Jim Brewster now with a meatball. Parent as well has a meatball, so both of those cars will have to come in and get service.
Oh, no, I was getting bad flashbacks to the runoffs a couple of seasons ago when we were running at Charlotte. That's such a shame for the both of them. Huge damage. You can see Jim Brewster, same sort of situation that Guido had, so rather fitting that I say that right as Guido appears out of nowhere, blows their doors off. He's repaired the damage on his car. He can make his way up into 22nd. Samuel Parent and Jim Brewster will just be dropping down and down and down. So let's take a look at this here. Yeah, you can see both those cars leaning. Jim Brewster with a significant amount of lean, the chassis pretty much dragging on the ground as he headed his way down into the second last turn. I'm going to try and see if I could find a replay of this, because they had been linked together for quite some time. We first saw the bit of drama, and then from there, things just went downhill.
Yep, as we see Parent and just braking and just Jim not catching it quick enough and making contact in the rear, and then all of a sudden those cars just say, you know what, let's just hang out for a while. I really like you. Let's just stick around. Maybe it's cold outside. We'll throw that reference in there since it's Christmas time. There we go. All right, get out. You're done. Go away. And so they head on, and you just, you hate to see it, but you got to kind of laugh out a little bit there as the iRacing physics giving us some great video to look at.
That is absolutely incredible. If that doesn't end up on a YouTube short, chances are I've become incapacitated in some way and can't do it myself. I think I saw a moment, Michael Lattarulo in the number 82 car. He's had a moment in his own regard all through the chicane, which seems to be a bit of a choke point. I will say, though, this Grand Prix version that we have, there's basically the mirrored version of the chicane to make up the national layout. It just skips down the dogleg detour. If anyone remembers, nearly a year ago at this point here on these Formula V Weekend Warriors shows, our old pal, Mr. Mr. Adam Thompson hit the inside curb and barrel rolled, I think, about 7 times.
Ooh.
Michael Lattarulo did not crash out that spectacularly, just hit the curb and lost it. I think there may have been a little bit of contact potentially there, because it looked like there were some puppeteers pulling some strings there.
Yeah, I didn't see any contact. I could have been, but it just seems like that's a choke point. So if you get in these big groups and you're not leading the group, you probably just want to be a little bit safer on your entry there. Maybe lift just a little bit, allow the cars to work their way through, especially when they seem like they want to fight side by side. Which that's the worst place I think that you want to fight side by side on this track, because it's really just a one lane chicane there. So it's you just don't want to do that if you can get away with it. And we'll see. What happens is we're on board here with Scott Russell with a new paint scheme. So orange paint scheme. He's even got it written on the side of the car. That's very nice. So orange and black. Usually seeing the green and white out of Scott with the New Jersey Turnpike logo on there in a lot of his liveries. So it's a little bit of a change of pace there. So it'd be something that us commentators have to learn as we go here, as we're watching this little group running down into the S's section here before we get into the old hairpin. And we're 2x2 going through, and Scott just losing the rear a little bit and then loops the car around. And it's just, once again, it's another one of those sections where you just got to realize that if they're going there too wide, that they're not going to carry the same speed as normal, and just kind of break it a little bit early and maybe a little bit harder to slow your pace down, as we see the 25 car, Jason Chen, coming back on to the track, running in 15th. It's a little bit low for Jason. You usually expect to see him up in the top 10, but just like he had an issue there in that final hairpin as he's doing battle. So we'll see. We're coming out of the second to last hairpin and heading up the little short chute into the final corner. And Jason just trailing a car there. No,
he got clobbered.
That's contact in behind. That's how he's over there off the track. That will do it every time.
Yeah, trying to figure out exactly who it was right behind him. Looking through, that's the 326 of Angel Soto. That's right on board with him, heading downtown into the final turn. What was the deal here? Was it maybe an early braking? Now, the problem is that turn, it comes out of absolutely nowhere. Mm-hmm. You can never really tell when the turn actually starts. I think Soto may have gotten a little bit disoriented there and just overshot his braking marker quite a lot. That's pretty much what the deal is there. Very unfortunate for Jason Chen. He finds himself in 14th at the current moment. But he'll be back, I'm sure. He's done very well in Formula Car competition here in the Weekend Warriors World. A past Spec 2 champion of the Formula Fords. He's done well in these Formula Vs. Was running in the season finale last season at Brands Hatch. Did he run last week? I think he may have potentially.
I'm sure he did, yeah. I'm sure. I don't remember where he finished, but I'm sure he ran last week. Yeah, definitely, because I think I talked about his livery with the elbows out. On the side of his car. So yeah, definitely talked about him. So he was definitely involved, and I think ended up in the top 10, if I remember correctly. I don't think he was one of the ones that was involved. I think he was a little further back in the last lap drama. So yeah. So Jason was definitely there last week. As we're on board here watching, and he is trying to close that gap back down to we got an issue. That's Scott Russell around. He was involved he was around Michael Lattarulo. So I'm not sure what really happened there, but that looks like maybe another punt as that allows Guido to move up. We'll get another look here as we're coming up into that final hairpin, and you can see them working 3 cars there involved, and a little bit. Oh yeah, he got a little bit narrow there coming through the corner, and end up overlapping with the car in front, which was Michael Lattarulo, and I think that was contact made, and unfortunate for Scott Russell was the worst for wear there in that battle. As we're now on board with Chris Montgomery, who's moved up to third, over Andrew Love, who's still leading the Masters class in 4th place. So these cars have swapped positions. They are losing time up to Toomey as we're still fighting side by side, coming down into the hairpin. but these guys are still fighting, and they're losing time though, obviously to Toomey up there. The gap's now 2.8, so they lost about 8 to 9 tenths of a second. As in the meantime, Toomey's losing time up to Tello. That gap is now over 4.
Yeah, so we're going to be keeping eyes on this battle for the final few spots inside of the top 5, because I have a distinct feeling that's going to get intense, and of course with a opportunity to round off the podium. I think everybody's going to be happy to try and take an opportunity like that. Nate Colascio certainly will. A little bit of drama for him earlier on in the race. He was a car running right behind Andy Middleton when the contact was made that sent Middleton around into turn number 4. Colascio at the moment running in P5, 4 spots gained since the drop of the green flag. I think he's looking for a good result here. A little bit disappointed about the fact that he didn't return to victory lane last season in the Formula V Weekend Warriors, if my memory serves me correctly. So we'll see if he can break through and return into victory lane at some point throughout this season of Formula V Weekend Warriors competition here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Well, I'll quickly say one thing about the other car that we were following a few moments ago of Scott Russell. I think I may be the only person that's caught up on the fact that that's an old Arrows paint scheme, back when Arrows was racing in Formula 1. Ooh. Now, I'm not sure what era it was. I think it may have been in the 2000s when they were running those cars, because it had the Red Bull sponsorship. Red Bull was a little bit dodgy with their sponsorship, for lack of a better term, back when they were just a sponsor in F1. They were a part of Sauber for quite some time. There's a very brief period of time where it was a Sauber car with Red Bull and Petronas sponsorship on it and Ferrari engines, which pretty much just summarizes a championship contending teams throughout the entirety of the 2010s. But regardless, it was still pretty cool to see, as that's what's going on with Toomey. He's on the inside. What in the world has happened to him?
I'm not sure, but he was definitely off in the grass. We'll see as we come through the chicane here, heading our way down into that first hairpin corner, and he was way down on the inside off the track. So let's see if it's maybe just a mistake. Yeah, really hard on the brakes, very late, losing the rear of the car. Quickly pulls over off the track into the grass, and so loses down to 4 positions down to P6. So now he's got some work to do. He's got the gases right in front of him, so he's going to have to work hard to get back up to the front of this group and secure his position back in P2. And that leaves a big gap up to Tello, obviously now 7.3 seconds. So Toomey's got his work cut out for him. But you mentioned it in the final hairpin. I think that was the same thing in that hairpin. It just kind of got to it. It just kind of missed his breaking point. Didn't realize it was coming up as quickly as it was, and you could just see the nose of the car just bury itself in the track, and it ended up losing the rear and half spinning.
Yeah, I will say one thing about that turn is I think Chris Montgomery may have run a little bit wide there. Yes, he did. He's going to potentially lose out on a spot to Nate Colascio. That second to last turn, the first hairpin around this racetrack, is very downhill in terms of the braking zone leading up to it. So in these Formula Vs where you got to keep the momentum rolling, very easy to carry too much speed, at which point you'll probably snap around or you'll just understeer straight off the track. Bit of both going on there for Toomey. Unfortunate moment for the driver of the number 13 car. He's still got a fantastic view of this battling going on right in front of him, though. Chris Montgomery and Nate Colascio once again duking it out side by side out of the penultimate turn and into the final corner in just a few moments' time. Who will win out in this battle? I think he could give it to Colascio at the moment, and Andrew Love generally allowed him to break away to an 8.5 tenth of a second gap, which I'm sure he will not complain about one bit. Tortolo holding on to a comfortable margin at the front of the field. I believe something may have just gone down with Sam Chapman as he finds himself in the midst of a rather squirrely hornet's nest here. Not sure if that phrase has ever been said, but it has now.
Yeah, it has now, as we got 4 cars battling there with a couple of cars trying to catch up, and that is Angel Soto, Robin Hallett, Sam Chapman battling and swapping positions, and Nick Tello in that group as well. So you can see as they're trying to go 3 wide down into the first corner. Don't think that's the right idea, but you see Sam Chapman getting that position over Soto, dropping him down to P11, and as well as Hallett getting through. And so he's able to pick up a spot as well as now Jason Chin gets involved in this. And so now we've got a 5-car battle. And that's just, I'm sorry, 6 cars as we now have Brian Hansen in that group as well. So you got from P9 down to P14 all together on the track and swapping positions seemingly every corner as they're working their way through as they come down again. And you see, just so deep there. We see a car running wide. That's Chin off, and he loses it. And that's kind of odd for Jason. Jason normally really good at handling the car in strange circumstances, but just maybe overcorrecting a little bit and loses off into the gravel. And we'll get a replay here as they work their way down. I think this is coming up into 7 and 8. Oh, and there's the contact. That's why he made that. All right, so that's it. And then as you see the car still wanting to correct itself by going around backwards. And Jason, nothing really much he could do except get the car stopped. And so now he'll be starting from the back of this group and trying to work his way forward again. He's dropped down to P19, so he's got several cars that he's going to have to leapfrog to get back up there to join that battle once again.
And unfortunately for Jason Chen, he's got a black flag, also just got abducted by a UFO. I think that's the least of his concerns at the current moment. Has some nose damage on that car as well. So we're going to jump away from that because I don't want the alien to abduct their cameraman Phil off there in the dogleg section of the racetrack. Sure. We'll go back to this battling up towards the front. You know how I said that Andrew Love had a comfortable gap? Well, it's now about 1.5 tenths between himself and Nate Colascio, and Colascio may try and get the move done as they head their way up the hill. This is into McLean's, which may seem like an unassuming corner, but can be a little bit tricky as it's a bit blind on entry, blind through the braking zone, but he can really easily get a move done there as well if you can master it right and maybe force a driver in front of you into a slight mistake.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about this obviously, but these cars draft really well. So unless you get a 1 second plus gap over the car behind, there's always going to be a chance he's just going to get pulled by you up into the battle again. You see now the battle going too wide down through into the chicane. That's not necessarily they get through there, just get through there as Chris Montgomery, as we see Darmade Toomey now up into P3. So he's only got Andrew Love in front of him to get back up to the position he was in before he made the mistake, as we have Montgomery and Colascio battling behind as they work their way through the chicane. Gets that done. Looks like Chris has got the advantage. And is he going to get? He's going to get through there. So Chris will jump into that P4 position. Colascio down to 5th, as we see Tello with the fastest lap of the race, 151 dead. So he's not waiting around for these guys to catch up. He's up to 9.5 second gap over these cars as they continue to battle.
Yeah, actually, I will say it was close to being a 151 dead. It was a 151.006, so one below bond, 6 thousandths above being completely on point. Let's this kind of understates it a little bit. If we jump to the blimp shot, I don't think you'd see another car. Yeah, you wouldn't. It's just Tortello essentially running on his own island. Let's just savor this here for a couple of moments. Just how peaceful it is up towards the front, tranquil even. You could hear the birds chirping in the air. Everybody having a relaxed time in the English countryside, and Tortello enjoying what is going to be a rather leisurely Saturday cruise through to another trip into victory lane here in these Formula Vs. It's tranquil, almost.
It is. It really is. And I was watching, and Tello's fastest lap of the race was quickly dispersed by Guido Marzucchi, currently running in 15th with sub 151. It was 150.966 as he came through for the last lap, and he's up to 15th after that incident he had earlier. So he is making his way back up the field, trying to maximize what points he can get for today's event. So doing a really good job, and he's got a couple of cars in front he's going to have to work through. Now we're going 3 wide out of corners with these guys, with Toomey and Montgomery and Colascio still battling. That's going to allow Andrew Love to get a little bit of a gap over these guys as they work. There's Toomey getting a little squirrely coming out of the final corner, and that's going to let Colascio get back up into the front. Alan DeGas is going to join this group up here as well. along with Brian Stasinski, who has now joined this 6-car battle. And you see them still going too wide. Oh, and there's contact there between DeGassis and Toomey as they work their way through one side by side. And you keep tempting fate, and fate will eventually do the damage. And so you're going to be very careful there, as those cars look like they're running okay. I don't see any sides down, so maybe no damage to report there for those 2 cars as they continue on, and they'll see if they can get that gap back up to Coliseo, tightened back up, and so they can continue battle for that final podium position.
Oh, and bad news once more for Darme Toomey. A black flag in the air for the driver of the number 13 car. It was looking like a perfectly calm day in the office, running in second, but sadly for him, things have gone to pot. He's running in P7 at the current moment and will drop down even more. This is music to the ears of Michelle Lynn, who's currently running in P8 at the moment, effectively by herself. 10 spots gain ever since the drop of the green flag. I should have kept my mouth shut because I probably just jinxed her. Angel Soto, though, is a hard charger at the moment here in this field. 17 spots gained since the drop of the green flag. There have been some elbows broken out with himself and Jason Chen, which is weirdly fitting considering Jason Chen has the elbows out race car himself. But Soto putting on a pretty stormer drive at the moment and running in the midst of a pretty frantic battle.
Yeah, it really is. He's having a good run up now, 17 positions, as he is sitting there battling with Robin Howlett and Nick Tolo, Sam Chapman leading that little group of cars, as Guido Marzucchi is quickly joining that group, now up to P13. He's about to get involved in this. He wants to be back up into the top 10 as quickly as he can. We've only got about 6.5 minutes left to go in the race. Sorry, 5.5 minutes to go in the race. And so Guido wants back in the top 10. He wants to maximize his points for today. Is doing a great job since that early incident. And so, but now he's got some work to do, because these cars are not just going to move over for him as he works his way through. They're going to battle him as hard as they can and as cleanly as they can, I'm sure, to try and keep him behind.
Oh, we're going to have some close battling up at the front, though. Nate Coliseo, Andrew Love, Chris Montgomery, Alan DeGassis, Brian Stasinski, all involved in their own little battle. These drivers have scythed their way through the field. Look at Nate Coliseo, 7 spots gained. Up, I think he may be getting abducted by a UFO right now. Okay, he's back. He's good. I thought the Chiquita Banana car had been sucked up by Martians, but nope, he's still out there on the racetrack. 7 spots gained since the drop of the green flag for him. Andrew Love up 4, Chris Montgomery up 1, maybe gonna make it 2 or 3 if these 2 drivers in front of him potentially come to blows. Alan DeGassis and Brian Stasinski at the tail end of this pack, currently up 6 and 4 spots respectively. That's one thing that we have seen a lot of here in this race, Charles. Drivers really making a good run of things. One driver, though, who was having a good run is Angel Soto. He just not only had a slowdown, but also had a moment out there on the racetrack. He's lost down some time. Is Andrew Love going to lose out on 2 spots in 1 shot?
Yeah, I was watching that as well. As it's like that. Chris is going to try the outside. Andrew's got the inside line. He hangs on to that position, so he's going to sit there in third behind Coliseo and see if the banana car slips a little bit as we go through here. But so far, he's doing a really good job, up 7 positions, running in second. And as they work their way down in, and now Chris Montgomery is going to take the advantage into turn 1 and is going to hold that position for the time being and is going to stick. So obviously Andrew not going away quite yet. He's right on the tailpipe there of Chris Montgomery's car as they work their way down through the old hairpin. And this battle, I'm sure, is not over with yet, as we still have about 3 minutes or so left in this race. So probably 2 laps as they come back around.
Yeah, so we still have some time, but time is most certainly running out. I will say once again, though, Tortolo, he's now grown that gap out to, that's 14 seconds. That's madness. That is truly ridiculous. It's Tortolo. We can't really expect too much. See, I made a joke about this right before we went live. How in the chaos of the finish last time out at Snetterton, he won the race by 0.4 of a second, which is probably the biggest gap that Tortolo has won in a close finish in, I would captain to say, about a year and a half. So Tor always gets the nose down the photo finishes, but of course, very talented in these cars. He knows how to capitalize on the opportunities when they come to pass. This may be a spot for some drivers to gain some more time, as Nate Colascio, Chris Montgomery, and Andrew Love briefly fanned out 3 wide. Thought there was going to be a bit of a contact there with Andrew Love and Chris Montgomery giving each other the hip check. Thought that was going to result in side-by-side racing. It still does between Colascio and Montgomery. Colascio holds on to the inside into the final turn. Close to contact through the braking zone. A bit of a sideways snap there.
Whoa.
A huge checkup. He's going to bounce himself out of this battle as Love runs wide. DeGassis and Stasinski both going to capitalize.
Yeah, they got through. Obviously, Chris did a good job just to hang on to the car, but had to kind of roll out of the steering there a little bit to kind of catch that car from going around, and was able to do so. But obviously, dropped him down to the back of this group. But he's still there. He's still got opportunity here, as we do have Jason Chin with another slowdown. We've got Robin Hallett there sitting on that black flag, so he's going to have to come in and serve that penalty this lap or next lap. So he doesn't have a lot of time left, as we see Guido Marzucchi now challenging for ninth place. Ooh, and there's contact there with him and Sam Chapman. These guys have been battling for most of this lap now, as Guido's done a good job to get through this group, but Sam does just not want to give that position up. And he has been fighting Guido tooth and nail. I saw that position bounce a couple of times back and forth as they work their way down through the old hairpin. It's going to give Sam the advantage. He'll get back up in the front, and that's going to allow these cars to stack up as the draft kicks in, as they pick up a little bit more speed. And now you've got Howlett on the outside there, and Soto right behind Marzucchi as they work their way through these corners, heading down onto the backstretch. And so now it looks like Guido's got himself out of that 2-car battle, as that is Howlett, I believe, falling back just a little bit there and allowing Soto to get in front, pick up P11. And now we've got Chapman and Marzucchi again side by side going down into the chicane. Once again, guys, not the best thing to do. Let's see what happens here as we work our way through. And I don't know how they did that. But Guido manages to just late break and get the run in, and was able to get the position over Chapman. But, man, that was close.
As all that chaos and battling has been going on, it's still going on, mind you, but I just wanted to give some love to Tortolo, who is about a third of the way through the final lap of this race. 2/3 of a lap of racing action left to go here from round number 2 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and 16.5 seconds is the gap between himself and a nucleus of cars that keep on swapping because Nate Colascio keeps getting abducted by a UFO. I was tempting fate clicking on it, but I clicked the right button, and it worked out well. Colascio, Love, and DeGassis really involved in their own little battle. It's still close with DeGassis and Montgomery and Stasinski right in tow, but I think it's kind of developing into a 2-car fight, if I am being honest. We'll have to see how this is going to cut it for these racers. They'll give us enough time, really. I think they'll be heading into the final chicane by the time Tortolo takes the checkered flag, so I think we'll have a decent amount of opportunity to cover all of the action out there on the racetrack as we get into the final stanza of this race. The final march to the end. Tortolo on track for a victory, but who's going to complete your podium? Nobody really knows. Andrew Love wants to finish this race in second. He goes for the move on Nate Colascio heading into the chicane. Book it, he's through. Now look at Alan DeGassis. Will he try and get a move done on Colascio? Will Montgomery try and get a move done on him first? Side by side racing as they head their way into the hairpin for the final time between DeGassis and Montgomery. I think they're too worried about their own little squabble to think about what's going on right in front of them. Farther up the road, Tortolo gonna start the season off in style with back-to-back wins here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors, but the fight for second is still on. Andrew Love and Nate Colascio broken away. 3 wide racing behind. Stasinski goes for the dive, but he goes for a slide, and that's going to be Chris Montgomery holding on to P4 at the end of this race. It's a drag race going on between Stasinski and DeGassis. Give the nose out to Stasinski, who finishes in P5. We are expecting some fireworks. We got a small little fireworks display, nothing major, but still.
Yeah, nothing major, but great battling there. Obviously, there was a nice little Masters battle involved in all that between Love and DeGasses. Obviously, Love getting the P2 overall, Coliseum finishing in third. So we see this next group led by Guido Marzucchi to finish in P9. Michelle Lynn, great job, up 10 positions to finish at eighth. As she just did a fantastic job keeping it clean and staying out of trouble, and just really didn't have anything to battle. I think it's she'll probably tell you that was a very boring race for her, but a great battle there for basically the final two positions on the podium. And unfortunate as Robin Hallett still sitting with that black flag in pit lane. I don't know. I think he came in to clear it, but I'm not sure why it didn't clear. So maybe he took a stop. I'm not sure. But Andy Middleton, our race sponsor, is going to be sitting there in P22. So thank you again, Andy. Unfortunate that you weren't up in the top 10 there battling during the course of this race today due to that unfortunate incident there on the first lap. And then finally, Jason Chen DQ'd there at the final bit of the race, which is just unheard of for Jason. So obviously issues even after the black flag, along with that contact on the car. Maybe has some suspension and wheel damage that we didn't know about there that just kind of hung him out. But great race overall. Once again, Doninigton is a very, very difficult track to drive, very technical. As we get some cars that are going, okay, we've got a little backward driving here down the wrong way down the track. Or is this, oh no, we're just, we're doing some shortcuts as we work our way through here. As we got Guido and the bumper car start along with Guido and Michelle. And there's Michelle into the wall. Guido as well into the gravel. Here comes there we go. Nice launch there. Could not tell who that was, but the 70.
I think that may have been
771 car. There we go.
Brian Hansen.
Of Brian Hansen. So as the cars just get piled up in the gravel track there, and into the catch fence. So great racing, and now just kind of letting off some steam as we got the 973 car there over the fence. Wayne Buttermore stuck in the fence between the fence and the tire barrier. So I don't think he's going anywhere for a while. Wait on the JCB to come out and get him.
Stuck like a rat in a glue trap.
That kind of does. And,
my goodness.
That was nice. I would have to say that was a nice jump. Got a nice little barrel roll pirouette through the air, and then stuck the landing in the catch fence. So everything doing its job. So.
What the hell just happened there? I think Brian Szynski reversed and then I am. There's only so many times you can see the crash 'em up wreckfest at the end of these races before you're genuinely at a loss for words. We're gonna take a look at the results here before my one last remaining brain cell gets fully fried. So we'll let you know that at the end of 30 minutes of racing action, kind of similar to what we saw last time out, but different series of verses to get to the same conclusion at the end of the story. Tortolo grabs the W, 16.999 seconds. That 1,000th of a second, if I was him, would irk me for the rest of my life. Andrew Love is slotted in P2 with Nate Colacio completing her podium in third. Chris Montgomery will finish in fourth in front of Brian Szynski in P5. Alan DeGassis finishes this race in sixth in front of Darmay Toomey, who was on track to finish in P2, but things went a little awry throughout this race. Michelle Lynn, who had a pretty calm day in the office, finishes this race in eighth, with Guido Marzucchi on a comeback tour to finish in ninth, and Sam Chapman completing her top 10.
Yeah, Angel Soto finishes in 11th and takes the Spec 2 victory. So Nick Tullo finishing in 12th and the final step on the Masters podium. JG1, second place in Spec 2, finishing 13th overall. Brian Hansen rounds out your Spec 2 podium, finishing in 14th. Dan Szynski just missing out, finishes in 15th overall. Wayne Buttermore in 16th. Stephen Westcott in 17th. 18th is Michael Lattarulo. Gary Kittle, sorry, let's just get that right, is 19th. Jim Brewster finishes in 20th. Andy Milton, our race sponsor today, thank you again, Andy, finishing in 21st. Robin Hallett finishing in 22nd. Jason Chen, 23rd. Scott Russell, 24th. Samuel Parent finishing in 25th. Felix Samoas, 26th. Russ Telker finishing in 27th. 28th is Rodrigo Tostas and David Hunger, 29th. Those two cars did not take the start of the race, and so that is your final finishing order.
So there you go, 29 drivers classified here in this race. Only 27 of them took the green flag, but still a pretty good way to end off the year of 2025 here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for the Formula V Weekend Warriors. And once again, if you have enjoyed this broadcast here today on SMB, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But I think we may have the opportunity to have a chat with some drivers. I think these drivers are looking to have a chat with us. So, Charles, I will let you get the interview festivities up and rolling and ask who you want to have a driver, who you want to have a chat with first.
Well, let's bring in our race winner, Tortolo, and have a chat, and we'll talk about the seemingly uneventful race he had today. As I'm going to drag him down, bring that in here. Tor, congratulations on the race victory. A little bit less frantic today than we had last week at Snetterton. So, got yourself a bit of a lead for some issues behind, and just took advantage of it and just kept stretching the gap, running your pace, and it just ends up with just short of a 17-second race victory.
Yeah, Charles, I was just desperate to get away at the start there. I knew I had the pace from qualifying, so I just really wanted to put in hot lap after hot lap at the beginning. And thankfully, the guys behind me kind of got tangled up, and I was able to get like a second and a half clear. And from that point, it was just managing the gap and just trying to put in consistent laps.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we talk about this, that just being that there's just some places that when we come, we just expect some incidents here. What is it about Doninigton that just makes it seemingly just a very difficult track to drive, and especially more, I guess, more pointedly, very difficult to race? It just seems like there's it seems like there's enough room for side by side, but then we end up getting balled up in some sections, and it just seems like it never quite kind of goes the way the drivers expect.
Well, Doninigton, it's this really weird combination of corners which there's no real right answer, and corners where there's like only one line. So I think that really catches some people out, and it's so hard to kind of, I guess, just battle around here, because it so quickly turns into like a track that you can't pass on, that goes straight into like a track that you can pass on and then can't, just back and forth.
That's about as good as answer as I could ever expect. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that's exactly the way I feel of it. Every time I get on this track, it just seems like it's like, okay, that's not the line. That's not the line. That's definitely not the line. Why am I off in the gravel again? So I completely understand where you're coming from there. So another good race, obviously, for you with the race victory, going to stretch out that championship lead. And I hate to say this, but I do not know where the race is going to be next week. So maybe Ron knows right off the top of his head, and he can just can yell at me later for not knowing.
We're running at Barber next time at
Barber,
your hometown track, Charles.
My hometown track. So I'll ask Tor. Obviously, I love Barber. It is a difficult track to drive, but I love it, and I love going there to watch races. So, Tor, what are your thoughts about Barber Motorsports?
Well, Barber, I've done in the V before in the Australian Nationals, and it's a great combination, and I know it'll be just a load of fun. And I'm just, I've got some history there. It's a track I've always really liked, and I'm just hoping to be right at the front again.
There you go. Well, Tor, thank you very much for stopping in, and congratulations again, and we'll give you a chance to give any thanks before we let you go.
As usual, a big thank you to Brabham Motorsport, and a big thank you to my content partner, Akuna Nimune. And a big thank you to everyone at SMB, and big thank you to everyone at Weekend Warriors.
All right, Tor, thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
And And that right there was Tortolo, our race winner here today. And if it makes you feel any better, Charles, I did not know that we were racing at Barber next time out. I cracked a joke about this before we went live. I haven't gotten the opportunity to get my usual Weekend Warriors notes together, which, Charles, considering you've seen a lot of them, you know that it is rather extensive, the notes that I put together. I haven't gotten the opportunity to put them together here for these Formula Vs, just because I've been very busy with a lot of stuff going on. Of course, holiday season, being a witness protection 1 week ago here today, a lot of stuff going on, so I haven't gotten the opportunity to do that. So I did not know that we were racing at Barber next week, but that'll be a very fun race to look forward to. But I want to have a chat, a perfect camera swap there, with a driver who at this point in time in the race was a little bit farther back, not even inside the top 5, but by the end of the race he was able to make his way up into second. It is our Masters winner, Andrew Love, joining us here in the broadcast booth. Andrew, welcome in. Congratulations on the Masters win and P2 finish here in the race. How was it out there?
It was a battle, and of such, I need to apologize to a bunch of folks. I know we were faster when Chris was ahead of me. When it was Chris in front of me, we were faster as a pair, but when I got out front, we kind of just got, I was not as smooth as the other guys were. So I kind of bunched up the pack and everyone got together. And I also need to apologize to Diarmaid. I'm probably slaughtering the pronunciation there. But I'm watching the replay, and I did get side by side with him and kind of smashed off him and shouldered him out to the outside there on the hairpin, and everyone got around him, and I'm sure that just ruined his race for him. So I need to apologize to him. But otherwise, it was a great battle. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm surprised. I consider this a win overall, even though it's kind of tainted with my rough driving. But yeah, good win, good race.
Yeah, it was a very hard fought drive from everybody up and down the field. I feel like this track is somewhat conducive in an odd way to causing a little bit of argy-barginess. This track is kind of narrow, very old school, and I feel like it just keeps these cars so close together as well. Would you say that was kind of what you're feeling behind the wheel as well?
Yeah, the draft is strong at this track, but I don't think it's as strong here as some other tracks. Either that or Chris was just keeping an incredible pace, but when I was behind him by the perfect draft amount, like 0.9, 0.6, I was just not catching up to him like I thought I would be. But the narrow track going down the hill through the twisties, you really don't have enough time to get around anybody if you're beside them. Yeah, it's a difficult track, difficult old school track, but I love it.
Yeah, we're going to be heading off to another old school racetrack, finally breaking away from the UK, heading back to the US with Barber Motorsports Park to kick off the year of 2026. Andrew, what are your thoughts heading to that track in 1 week's time?
I had kind of put the worm in Jim's ear about maybe running Barber one of these seasons, and I think somebody else came in and seconded my opinion, or maybe I seconded their opinion. So it is a track I'm looking forward to. I've given it about 3 or 4 laps of a test drive in the V, and I thought it was kind of fun. So hopefully it lives up to my expectations.
So you said that there was somebody else in the Weekend Warriors world that was encouraging the use of Barber here for the Vs. Charles, was that you?
No, I'm not driving, so I'm not throwing anything out there. Although obviously, I love Barber; it's my home track. But no, I don't put bugs in people's ears when I'm not actively participating in the events. So, but I am glad to see it's on the schedule though.
Yeah, I think the only bit of like schedule manipulation I guess I've ever been able to do was about a year ago when there was a draft party at the Slinger Figure 8 that I think Dan Szynski won all the way back then. I felt like I had to do that because I joked about it for so long. And also the Charlotte Roval Legends Long Road Course for the runoffs, like 2 runnings of that event ago. So some of the suggestions I've made are quite strange, but I think Barber is a really fantastic suggestion, Andrew, and I'm looking forward to seeing that race in 1 week's time. But before we let you go and maybe get a bit more practice in for that, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before the start of the new year.
Yeah, I need to thanks to Andy for sponsoring. Thanks to Jim for doing the maintenance and putting the schedule together and all that stuff. Thanks for Michelle for going out and strong-arming everyone for the donations. Thanks for Stevie for running all the leagues, and thanks for you guys for doing the broadcast. I love it. I'm going to go back and watch it here in a few minutes.
And it was a very fun race for us to call. Hopefully it would be a very fun race for you to watch, Andrew. Thank you for joining us in the booth, and congratulations on the Masters win.
All right, thank you, guys.
And that right there was Andrew Love, our Masters winner here in this race. And Charles, I will give you the opportunity to have a chat with our Spec 2 winner here, that being Angel Soto. Had a pretty wild race in his own regard.
Yeah, he did. Let's bring Angel down. Angel, congratulations on the Spec 2 victory and the hard charger today, up 17 positions from the race start. So congratulations.
Thank you. It was a very hard-fought victory today, starting from the back with my mistakes in qualifying. It made it a pretty challenging day today, but I'm really glad to have come out on top today.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw you involved in several, what I would say is big pack fights, and then maybe an issue or two with Jason Chin during the course of the race.
Yeah, the pack was from beginning to end. There wasn't a moment to breathe, and yeah, we did come together, Jason and I, but I've known him well since before on other leagues, so it was just a little mistake there with the breaking points. No hard feelings. I do apologize to him, and of course I do hope that the upcoming races will be more entertaining for everyone and more of a clean show for us too.
Oh yeah, this was a really entertaining race. So you don't have anything to be upset about there. There was lots of battles all over the track, and you did a really, like I said, once again, a great job. Moved up 17 positions. But for next week, we've got Barber Motorsports Park on tap. And so, what are your thoughts about going to Barber for the first time for the Formula Vs?
Oh, it's going to be the first time for me too. Barber is a completely new track for me. Even looking at the layout, it seems like it's going to be a pretty challenging track to get it right. Just hoping to get some practice in during the week, trying to learn all the tricks that the top guys do, and hopefully keep this streak of results going.
All right, well, Angel, once again, congratulations on the Spec 2 victory, and we'll let you give any thanks, and then allow you to go celebrate.
Yeah, just a general thanks to Andy for sponsoring. Thanks for all the guys in the league who run it. Also, thanks to Guido, that's also amazing in helping me with tips and little tricks here and there. And again, just a shout out to Jason. He's a great driver, and I apologize for the shunt today. But yeah, thank you all.
Congratulations again, Angel. We'll see you next week.
And there was Angel Soto, our Spec 2 winner. I think that's the first time I've ever gotten the opportunity to have a chat with him. And outside of what sounded like some angle grinding going on at the start of the interview, I'm looking forward to having him back in the booth. We always love having chats with these drivers at the end. But Charles, a pretty darn good way to round off the year of 2025 here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors, and get the first sixth of the season already in our rearview mirror.
Yeah, absolutely. Great start to the season. It looks like it's going to be a really full battlefield season. Lots of good drivers out there consistently battling for class victories and overall podiums. So yeah, looking forward to seeing the rest of it. I may have to sabotage Josh's vacation so I can be here for next week too, and so we can talk about Barber Motorsports Park.
Well, I'm going to make sure that the brake lines on my car are perfectly clean and not cut, because I would like to be on that broadcast too. But it's been an absolutely amazing year of action here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors, and an amazing day of action as well. Before we terminate this show, however, I do want to kind of break away from the silliness, as everybody knows if you've tuned into these broadcasts before, and you've just heard me commentate a race at all. I usually spend most of my time acting like an ass generally, so it's very rare that I get serious. However, right here at the end of the show, I did want to kind of eulogize somebody who meant a heck of a lot to me. A little bit earlier on today, one of my neighbors, named Kurt, passed away. He was somebody who had always been there in my life for quite some time, kind of like an uncle figure, because most of my Uncle Carl unfortunately passed away back in 2013. My other Uncle Richie, he's all the way down in Jersey, and I don't really speak to my mother's side of the family, if I'm being completely honest. So it was always a bit of an uncle figure to me. Last time I had a conversation with him, we were talking about some jazz music, and unfortunately, after a pretty consistent battle with health issues over the past couple of years, he passed away this morning. So I want to give my thoughts to him and his family at what is a very tricky time for them. But breaking away from that seriousness for a couple of moments, we'll let you know about all the stuff coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Tomorrow night here on SMB, we'll be able to bring you round number 14 of Cross Series League Racing, the TCR's return, this time at Road America, off the back of a very exciting race at VIR just 1 week ago. Sim Racers Group F4 action is going to be at Monza with some rain in the picture. That's going to be a really good race, along with SRG F3 action at the Hockenheim Ring to round off the year of 2025 here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. That started with the Sim Racers Group F4 series all the way back on January 1st. Next time you'll be able to see this series is going to be in 1 week's time in the brand new year on Saturday, January 3rd at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be at Barber Motorsports Park, and hopefully all of you will be able to tune into that broadcast. If you want to stay tuned for all of the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, you should probably hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of it. But for one final time here in 2025, a year where the first Formula V broadcast I did back for round 3 of season 1 was my second, and now we're here for my 443rd show. I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here for the Formula V Weekend Warriors in 2025. And so for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Bochelle joining me in the booth, and Joshua Wilkie, who's been joining me quite a lot throughout the season as season end year as well, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on SMB, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.